Now in this video I want to share with you some things that you should not do if you don't want to get osteoporosis, and also if you already have osteoporosis. You don't want to do these things, all right? So a little bit of a background here on osteoporosis. Before you become osteoporotic, it has to have a birth, it has to have a beginning, and the beginning is what we call osteopenia. And you can be tested for these things to see where you are regarding that. But I will tell you that the females in the United States, there's over 55 million individuals right now throughout the United States estimated that have osteoporosis. And of these, of course, the women far exceed the number of men that have it. And also, not only that, but the women of the United States far exceed any other females throughout any country in the world. That's right. They're number one in the world for having osteoporosis. And what's really ironic is the diet that we consume in the United States on a whole is one of the richest diets in the world in regards to ingesting calcium. Isn't that something? But you've been told that you need to take calcium in order to prevent osteoporosis, or if you have it, you've got to take 1,200 milligrams of calcium every day and whatnot. So again, let me rephrase this, or repeat this, I should say. The number one populace in the world for osteoporosis is the United States female. And the United States female consumes the highest dietary source of calcium in the world. Isn't that something? So we'll pick this apart a little bit as we go on through this. Now, unfortunately, the osteoporosis, or the osteopenia, I should say, as it develops, shows up, it starts to develop right after menopause and thereafter. The older, or I should say, with the greater passage of time after menopause, the greater incidence or potential the individual has of developing osteoporosis. However, I've got to tell you that in my years of clinical practice, I have actually seen, we've had female athletes that have come in, and I'm talking about teenage young ladies that have come in that we've tested, that have had problems that we've tested on, only to find out that those females were developing or already in the throes of osteopenia. And we've actually had a few teenage young ladies that were in the early stages of osteoporosis. And as I get into this, I'll show you why. Anyway, one of the first signs of being osteoporotic or having osteoporosis, unfortunately, is having a bone fracture. Now, what people don't realize is it's not isolated to the bone that was fractured. By that I'm saying that one bone that was fractured is not the only bone in the body that is osteoporotic. You see, it's a global effect. So if there's one bone in the skeletal structure that is osteoporotic, I want you to know that all the bones that make up the skeleton are going to be affected as well, in varying degrees. So you have to realize this, okay? So the first sign is usually a fracture. And what can happen if the osteoporosis isn't properly addressed, eradicated, reversed, terminated, whatever word you want there, if it isn't properly dealt with, then it can result in loss of independence. That is, those people, and think about it, if you break a leg or something like that, you know, you lose your independence. You become dependent on other people to help you in certain circumstances of life. Now this becomes more glaringly true as the older the individual is who sustains the fracture, right? Because now they become more and more dependent on people around them to help them to get through the activities of daily living, or to supply the daily needs that he or she may have. And unfortunately for some of those individuals, it also leads to death. Yes, it leads to death, because some of these bones that are fractured are the bones that are primarily responsible for replenishing the blood of the individual. And when you lose that mechanism, then your potential to thrive or continue to live is greatly reduced, and as I said, some of them end up dying. They never leave the assisted living or nursing homes or whatever. Okay, so now that I've laid that out, these are some of the things that you do not want to do. Number one, you don't want to do them if you've been diagnosed with osteopenia, or if you've been diagnosed with osteoporosis, and also if you're an individual who does not ever want to get osteoporosis. These things you don't want to do as well. Number one, and not in any particular order, is you've got to stop drinking the soda. Regardless of whether it's the soda or the diet sodas, or some of you may call it pop or whatever, you want to quit drinking it. The main culprit in the soda is what's called phosphoric acid. And I want you to close your eyes for a moment and just picture the word acid being active. And that's right. When you're drinking the pop, it's exactly what it does in your body. It starts to disintegrate the bones. It starts to leach out the calcium that's in the bones. It starts to break down those bones. And the more you drink the sodas, regardless, as I said, even if it's a diet soda, the more you consume that, the more accelerated the process of osteopenia, only to become osteoporosis, becomes. This is why I mentioned a few moments ago that we had some young ladies, teenagers, and these young ladies, athletes and that, and they would drink the pop in order to get them fired up, to get them going, and they would drink it without any other beverage, and it actually created osteopenia, and in a few of the young ladies, they were osteoporotic as a result of it. So again, no soda because of the phosphoric acid that's in it. Also, salt. Salt's a big nemesis too. The table salt, it's junk, it's garbage. And then a lot of people are eating prepackaged foods, the microwavable foods. You look on the labels, luncheon meats. You look on the labels and you see that sodium. You want to get away from that stuff. And then also the SAD, the Standard American Diet, which is also known as consuming a high amount of fast foods. All of those foods are very, very heavily laden with salt, and the salt is going to leach. It's going to suck out, if you will, from the bones, the calcium that you have. So if you're continually doing this, you get the picture all the way through. It's taking more and more out. Okay? Now also we go to the caffeine. Caffeine's another one that literally prevents, you may be eating calcium-rich foods like I alluded to earlier on as the American diet. We consume a lot of calcium in the food, but there's a lot of individuals that drink caffeine throughout the day. And I'm not just talking about coffee. You have to add the sodas. Remember, they have the caffeine in them. So when you have that combination, or one or the other, but an excessive amount, you are sucking out of the body the calcium that you're ingesting, because it will prevent calcium, I should say, from being absorbed in your body. The next one we go to is hydrogenated oils, the cooking oils, especially the vegetable oil, corn oil, safflower, sunflower, canola oil, peanut oil. Garbage. It's garbage, as the French would say. The hydrogenated oil or the partially hydrogenated oils. Look at the labels, and if you have those on the labels, if they're in the food that you're about to purchase, put it down and go for something else, right? And if you're cooking, we can recommend to you coconut oil is very good to use. Pure olive oil is very good. Avocado oil, macadamia oil, there's other oils that you can use, but don't use the hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils. If it's packed into the foods, don't eat the foods, and don't use them for cooking, all right? And another one is cereal, primarily the wheat brand. And not only cereals, look at your recipes too. When you buy the pastries, cookies, whatever it might be, you want to look and see if it has wheat bran in it. The wheat bran is not very good, because that also prevents the absorption of the calcium getting into your body. So you see all of these things, and it's not a far cry. It's not something that's hard to see, because a lot of people drink soda in the United States. And the soda, they also have the table salts or the junk salts. And many of these people soda with the caffeine as well, depending upon what type of day or what time of day that they're drinking it. The diet, again, with the hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated oils, the cereals, and we go back to this, the SAD diet, you know, the standard American diet. You put it all the pieces together and you have a perfect storm, as they say, to cause a totally preventable disorder condition from ever developing, and that is osteopenia getting into osteoporosis, right? And you know, the sad thing is, many of these individuals that are dealing with the osteoporosis, they're just simply told to take 1,200 milligrams of calcium every day, and that's going to be sufficient and whatnot, but they never change what they're doing in their diet throughout the day, right? You can't do that. What you've got to do is you have to take the proper actions. First, you want to discontinue these things, and in the next video, I'm going to share with you things that you can do that will offset this and will help you to get back to the place that you want to be, which I'm certain is to enjoy the best performance of your life. Thanks so much for allowing me to share this with you. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please let us know. And until the next video, and as always, God bless.